Hey guys, another video for the healthcare in Japan playlist. Really didn't intend to make another video about the virus so soon after the last one, but there's a couple of things that have happened that have sort of triggered this one off. The first one is a toilet paper shortage in Japan. Now, as with a lot of the stuff that we're finding, is a lot of the problems that are happening aren't a result of the virus. They're a result of panic and dramas and stuff created by people in an over-response to the virus. That's what we're seeing. So it seems that there was a story from China that in China people were had run out of tissue paper. So then they started to buy toilet paper to use for tissues, and they ran out of toilet paper, which all seems a bit odd. It does seem a bit odd, but anyway, that was the story. And then because of that, there was stories all over the internet in Japan about there could be, and this is what happens with the drama queens, there could be a toilet paper shortage in Japan. And because what happens if you put a story like that out is that obviously everyone panics and goes and bulk buys toilet paper, and the result of that is a toilet paper shortage, right? Which is pretty much what we saw with the masks, right? Up until everything was fine. There was masks on the shelves and all the people were wearing their masks like they do every year in Japan. Every year in Japan people wear their masks. Well, actually a lot of people wear them all year round, but in particular in winter, a lot of people wear their masks and sterilize their hands, and they do that every year, because they worry about the influenza and stuff like that, right? So that's all very normal, and there was, the normal supply of masks in the shops and at the drugstores and everything. It was all normal, And then there was the story about there being a mask shortage, and that created a mask shortage because, as we showed you in a previous video, everybody went out and bulk bought masks, right? And that created a mask shortage, right? By the way, there was still masks, and we showed you in the last video, there was still masks available, and there still is now. But now now the toilet paper's the thing, right? So it's a bit of it does make us a bit nervous. It's not the virus that makes us nervous, it's these panic reactions to it. That's what's made us a bit nervous. We got a friend coming from Australia to visit us, and we're not worried about the virus, we're worried about someone panicking and stopping the flights in or out of Japan. Or the other one that worries us about our own people our own family is someone panicking and shutting down supermarkets or something stupid like that. Because, something like that, a real food shortage could be a real problem, People panic buying food or something like that could create a problem, And that's probably our biggest risk at the moment. Is an overreaction to something and a panic reaction to something that spreads and some irrational, illogical reaction that causes a problem. Because that seems to be our biggest risk. That seems to be what's happening, and that seems to be our biggest risk. So look, just want to clarify a couple of things. It does seem that the people who watch our videos regularly do seem to have the ability to watch a video, listen to what's said, understand what was said, and then express their own opinion, which may be the same as ours, or it might be different, or and that seems to be the majority of people watching our videos. However, there does seem to be a small number of people who do seem to watch videos and always seem to misunderstand what was said and then misrepresent what was said. And we've always had this in 10 years on YouTube. We've always had this, but when it's sort of important topics like this, we don't care if people don't understand what we say, and we don't care if people disagree, but what's frustrating is when they hear it and then misrepresent what was said, right? And we did have a few of those. Fortunately, there are people that also haven't listened to the videos where we've explained that our comment section disappears under our YouTube videos. So the comments that were made were actually under the video, so they disappeared an hour or two later, or whenever it was that YouTube disabled the comments. But just want to clarify a couple of things for other people who might misunderstand what we've said. Obviously, when you get a situation like a coronavirus happening, and they do happen now and again, this isn't the first one, coronavirus, right? Obviously, preventative actions and actions to isolate people and so on are important to help contain the spread. Obviously, we never said that wasn't a good idea, right? What we've been critical is of some of the overreactions and so on, and things that don't appear to be useful. But of course, we understand that it's important that action be taken to isolate it and to stop it spreading, okay? Obviously, that goes without saying. Most people who've watched our videos would understand that's a logical, obvious thing, right? Yes, we agree, that's an obvious thing. We're not debating that, okay? The other one was the statistics thing. Some people, again, didn't really listen and got all emotional. It's not the same as the flu. You're saying, someone actually said, you're saying it's a flu. It's not a flu. No, we didn't say it was the flu. A couple other people actually said that, it's much worse than the flu. It's 10 times more fatal than the flu. Yeah, we know that too, right? And again, we get our information from World Health Organization, from the Center for Disease Control, and recently someone sent us something from Harvard Medical School, an article on there. If you haven't seen that, it's worth having a look at that too. A really calm, rational doctor speaking calmly and rationally and actually saying pretty much what we said on the last video, comparing it to the flu, right? And again, it's not saying this isn't more dangerous than the flu. If you catch this virus, that we weren't saying that. We weren't saying that at all, because there was a couple of people, it's 10 times more fatal than the flu. Yeah, we know, that's a statistic. It's easy to see that and easy to understand that. But the point is, the cases, if you consider for an individual, this is what we're saying, for an individual, the chances of catching this virus and of dying from it in most places around the world, including Japan, which is what we're interested in, it's less likely that you will catch this and die from this than you will catch the flu and die from the flu. And that's what the guy from Harvard Medical School actually said about America, because he said, so far this year, so many people in America have caught the flu, and 2,700 people have died from the flu in America, right? And again, it goes back to the mostly either very young and weak people or very old and weak people, mostly, right? So he basically said the same thing. He said that this week. We said that last week, right? But when we said it, some people got all upset about it and saying it's worse than the flu, it's worse than the flu. We weren't saying that it's less deadly. We were saying that the chances of dying from it are less because your chances of catching it are less because the incidence of it are much less than the flu, right? And it's the same thing. It's the same thing. So, it's just, we're finding it a really frustrating topic because it seems that people really like the big reaction and the drama, and if you try and say anything that's sort of trying to be more calm and rational, it seems to upset people. Some people get really upset about it. One guy actually got upset because we actually said something about the Y2K bug. And he got really upset. I spent hundreds of hours a week working on the Y2K bug, and the reason that it wasn't a problem is because we worked hard to prevent it. And it's whoa, dude. We weren't saying it wasn't a thing that needed to be fixed. And again, we weren't saying it wasn't a thing that didn't need attention. We were just saying that there was people that predicted the end of the world as a result of the Y2K bug, and the end of the world didn't come. And that's sort of what we've been trying to say about this virus is, yeah, it's a bad thing, but and action does need to be taken to contain it, but it's not going to be the end of the world. We're not all going to die from it, And if you look, ignore what we're saying, ignore everything else you see on the internet. Go to the World Health Organization website, go to the Center for Disease Control website, check out the article on the Harvard Medical School website. Listen to them. Don't be listening to these drama queens on the internet because, most of it's based on just nothing, just nonsense, and they're panicking unnecessarily and panicking everybody else unnecessarily. And it's that panic, that's what we're really worried about here more than anything else, is some of the decision making here has been really irrational. The schools were all, Prime Minister Arbear said, I instruct that they shut down all the schools. And most of the prefectures listened to him because they sort of had to, didn't they? We're going to go back the other way now. Most of them had to listen to him because they're scared not to, of course. So most of the prefectures did shut down their schools. which again was a really irrational thing, because in a lot of areas of Japan there are no cases of the coronavirus at all. So it just wasn't necessary to shut it down. Places like Hokkaido, where they've got higher incidence, then it probably would be a smart thing to do, or Tokyo, when you've got really, really high population density. But look around here, look out the window here, you know, shutting down the school out here where there's zero incidences of coronavirus is just irrational. And then we've had lots of, the flow on from that has been that lots of groups and organisations, wow, geez, if they've had to shut down the schools, maybe we should cancel our festival. Okay, we'll cancel our festival. So lots of festivals have been shut down. Tokyo Disney's been shut down. Universal Studios in Osaka has been shut down. And that's probably not a bad move, because you get a lot of foreign tourists there, you get a lot of people who are moving around the country that come there. So that's probably not a bad idea. And having Tokyo Disney and Universal Studios shut down isn't going to do anybody any harm, except the people who work there, of course. But it's probably not a bad idea. But then we're seeing other irrational stuff, like people who are... we went to the dojo to do Aikido, and the adult class was on, but the kids class had been cancelled. And when I asked the teacher, why's the kids class been cancelled? Oh, because of the virus, right? Okay. So what about next week? Oh yeah, we think next week we'll still have a lesson. So they didn't shut down the adults class, they just shut down the kids class, but only for one day, and then next week they're going to have a normal lesson, and from, you know, the following week on. And so they just shut it down for one day. So obviously that's not a very well thought out decision, is it? Either they're going to shut it down until the virus is gone, or they're not going to shut it down. But shutting it down for one day and then having normal lessons next week would seem irrational, wouldn't it? The other one is that our friend owns a juku, and we asked him, are you going to shut your juku? No, we're really busy because the kids are all on holidays now because the schools are closed. So the kids are all going to juku. So he's got all these rooms jam-packed with kids, right? All those kids that they didn't want at school, you know, in case one of them got the virus, are all jammed into his juku. And we've noticed from driving around that the other juku are all open too. So juku are those little private school setup things we've told you about before. Some people know about them already. But, you know, there's a lot of stuff like that going on that's really irrational, you know, it really is. And that's the stuff that we're being critical of, is the irrational responses to stuff. It's like, wait a minute, what? Why, what? You know, you're doing what? What? And they're cancelling everything. Oh, parks, there's another funny one. A couple of, and again, not consistent, a couple of the parks in our area have been shut down, right? Public parks, open spaces, public parks have been shut down to the public because of the virus, right? And again, we would question the logic in that. Why would you close a park, an open public area, for the virus? Why would you? So, anyway, we suspect this isn't the end. Look, a lot of this stuff is just laughable. We don't care if the park's shut down, you know, the festival's not going to be on. There's lots of stuff like that's been cancelled. A lot of the kids' stuff, the kids' swimming lessons have been cancelled. There's a lot of stuff like that. Yeah, okay, fair enough. That's not really a worry, but what does worry us is some of this panic stuff. Like panic buying of food would really mess us up, we reckon. You know, you can imagine panic buying of food, and people that live in places that get hurricanes and stuff know about that. If you get panic buying of food, it can create a problem where there was enough food for everybody, and then suddenly there's panic buying and suddenly there's not enough food for everybody. That's the stuff that worries us more. So anyway, another myth that was going around was that you can't get products from China at the moment. Now, that's probably contributed to the toilet paper problem, but our batteries for our front camera are coming from China, and we've been assured that they're coming this week from China. And Harvard Medical School says that you are not likely to catch the disease from products sent to you from China. Apparently that's a common myth on the internet at the moment. It never ends, does it? Anyway, there it was. More videos coming soon.